Hey, Jason, how are you?
Doing good, Chris. How about you, man?
Welcome back to the Leading and Serving podcast.
Leading is serving. That's right, man.
Yeah.
We're cruising into our second year and
Right.
enjoying the journey so far.
Right. Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, it's. I just can't believe it's gone by that fast. But also,
Yeah.
now we're focused on the new year, which is super exciting. So
yeah, totally.
I'm
100%.
excited about all the things that are coming and all the work that's getting done
Yeah.
already.
So we're not sitting alone today, are we?
No, we're not.
Who are you?
Oh, I get to introduce myself?
Yeah,
Right.
tell us who you are.
Who are you?
I'm Zack.
Hi,
Killey.
Zack.
Hi. Look, I walked by the door
Yeah.
while you guys were recording, and
I
then
was
you both
literally-
waved me in.
I was
Right.
literally reaching for the record button when you
walk by.
poke
yeah,
through,
so I
look
have
through the
no
window.
idea what's going on right now, but you're both
That's
acting
good.
like I do.
Hey,
so like I'm even
Welcome to the Leading is Serving podcast.
more. Hey, welcome.
You're a
Thank
rock
you.
star. We're just glad to have you.
Hey, you know what? Anytime I can talk about leadership and serving, I'm all good for those things.
Right?
Literally sat down. I'm like, what are we talking about? You showed me a computer screen, and now I guess I'm ready
and
to
we're
roll.
moving on.
Let's
Yeah.
Right.
do it.
So just for all you listeners, if you haven't heard of Zack Killey, he is one of our good friends, one of my business partners, right? So we both do coaching through Giant Worldwide.
Yes, sir.
We're with exANIMO Solutions. We're the ones that do the 5 Voices and the Peace Index and the Summits.
Yeah,
and
all that fun
all those
stuff.
good things. But Zack is also the host of Salty Saints podcast,
He is.
I am.
which was the first podcast launched out of the studio here,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And you've been going 2.5.
Yeah, it's been two and a
Yeah, you
half
started in
years.
the summer, so you're going on 2.5 years old.
Isn't this how you do your podcast? You just kind of pull people in randomly?
Yeah, just like that. Honestly, sometimes, yeah. Like,
right.
You know,
It's a little fun.
It's never the goal, but you
Little
know,
spontaneity.
sometimes it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So give us a picture. Tell us about Salty Saints. What do you?
Salty Saints.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Give us the elevator pitch of why
Well-
we should listen to Salty Saints.
Well, this is like worlds collide here a little bit.
It is.
It
You guys
does.
are like a business podcast, and I'm
Right.
over here, and I'm like a Christian theology and apologetics podcast.
Right.
So that's cool. I don't know.
cool.
We do faith stories. We talk to people from all different walks of life, different countries. I just talked to a lady named Ivani Greppi who grew up in South America for the better part of her life, and she gave us pretty cool, pretty crazy background. That was here a while back. That was probably the last kind of, I don't know, a little more niche one we did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, man. We try to dig into the nooks and crannies of the Bible and talk about some weird stuff too, because I don't know. I like talking about the weird
But you
stuff.
guys don't really shy away from some of the harder,
conversations.
more odd topics, I
Try-
guess.
we try not to.
Yeah.
No, we try to do it all. We just
That's
got picked
awesome.
up by Life Audio this year too.
Yeah,
so
that's
been
true. That's true.
huge. Our numbers quadrupled overnight, so that was pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But,
That's awesome.
But now we have to like do like little commercials and stuff, and I feel like I'm like living in the 1950s sometimes. Like, oh, my phone's going off. I've broken the cardinal sin of podcasting.
the professional
In all
podcaster.
fairness, I didn't know any of this was about to happen.
You're cool.
Right.
You're cool. We'll let it slide.
Right.
on.
This
Just
one
for today.
time. So,
That's fair.
but no, thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, thanks for giving us a
thanks
little
for
tidbit.
No
thanks for
problem.
being willing to fly by the seat of your pants.
Absolutely, that's my favorite place to fly.
So, what are we talking about today?
Well, we're going to talk about the core process. This
Okay.
is something that Jack, your name's Zack.
My name's
Sorry,
Zack.
I'm Jason. You're Zack. Okay, so this is something that Zack and I use in our coaching because part of the reason why the founders of Giant created Giant was because they were doing all these big conferences. They were doing all these big things that were, great at inspiration, great at information. But if you've ever been to one of, I've been to the Catalyst conference, which is what they put on. That was one of their big brands that they did. It's 3 days of just like drinking from a fire hose, right?
Right.
You walk away with notes in a notebook, notes in your moleskin,
Right.
notes in your phone,
Right.
conversations rolling in your head, and 3, 4, 5 days after you get home, you're like, I don't remember any of it now.
Yeah.
Because real life hits.
Right. It's
And
intense.
It is. It is. And so they, the reason they started looking at Giant in terms of leadership and how we make change, in our leadership across the world is information, inspiration. It's great, right? We love
Right.
it. It motivates, it moves us on, toward the goal. But how do we truly change our actions? Where is the transformative power of what we're doing as leaders?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you got notebooks full of information, but how are you transforming your actions? How are you transforming how you lead so that you're truly making an impact on the road?
Right.
And so the core process is really one of the key tools that we use of creating that transformation process. Okay. So it's talking about how do we take that information, that inspiration, and how do we put it into action? Okay. So there's a tool that we've talked about on the podcast a few times, the Know Yourself to Lead Yourself tool. And, it's about understanding our tendencies as leaders.
Yeah.
And what patterns and habits we create in our lives that create a reality around us, right? And so this core process helps us look at those tendencies and create change as we move forward.
Nice.
Okay. So core stands for 4 different things, right?
Right.
So Zach, why don't you tell us?
Okay, fair enough.
What does core stand for?
Yeah, so it's call it, own it, respond, and execute. And so it's kind of like the core process of making a change in your life. Spotting a problem is kind of the big place, right? Like you look for that sore thumb, you look for that thing that sticks up as bad in your life. And a good way to get to this, to find what that thing is something like the Peace Index, where you can really start to hone in on different areas of your life and say, what's working, what's not. When you find what's not, how do we get rid of it and how do we turn it into something good?
Right.
Nice.
Right. So call it is essentially, what are the cold hard facts? Like, is it a problem? Is it a disturbance? Is it, an opportunity, a barrier? Any of these things. What are the cold hard facts about what we're facing? Okay. And so this is an objective look at what you're trying to change. Okay. So you call it out. I'm trying to think of a scenario. My brain's not working fast enough, so we'll just pretend we thought of one, right?
Right. Well, I mean, you could go as simple as an action, or you could go as simple as a process. So, like, hey, like the checks aren't being put into the transaction on the accounting side of things.
Right.
So
checks are not being deposited.
So you're probably going to call it and say, hey, this is they're being deposited, but they're not being put into QuickBooks or something like that.
Something. We're X amount short in the checking account, or it's in the checking account, but we don't have it in the accounting software.
So then we got to figure out who owns that process. Right.
Yeah.
So who's doing that? And
this is a personal process. This is not. I mean, you can core process as a team or as an organization, sure, but the core of this, if we're just keep using that word, right, is that this is about you as a leader.
Okay.
This is knowing yourself to lead yourself. So, what is your part in the process?
Okay.
And what do you need to own? Not necessarily the blame you need to put on others.
Okay.
Because that's our number one tendency, right?
Right.
I mean, we want to blame others for our problems.
Well, yeah, I think some leaders have a tendency to do that. I agree.
Yeah. But I mean, we're all tempted to do that.
I totally agree.
So call it is just name the cold hard facts.
Okay.
Own it is what is your role in it. So you're making it from objective to subjective, right? So this is my part in it. This is how I contributed to the problem. And maybe it's passive, right? Maybe it's active. Okay.
Right.
So that's the know yourself part. You're calling it out, you're owning it. And now how do we move forward? How do we lead ourselves into better actions, better tendencies? Right. So the R for respond is basically creating the action plan. Right. So here's where the checks fell short. Here's where we didn't get it in the software, whatever. Right. Here's what's got to happen. Who's going to be in charge? Who's going to be responsible for this, and who's going to get it done?
Nice.
Who are the action? What are that? Do we need a better mechanism? What's missing? What do we change? Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the execute is about setting some deadlines, setting some goals, basically creating a measurable toward this. Because you can set an action plan and then set it off to the side of your desk, right?
Right.
And do you ever...
Right. Just not look at that piece of paper.
But if it's a goal, if there's a deadline to it, if there's some accountability to it, of the Peace Summit was a few weeks ago now, right?
Right.
And so Zach and I went through a lot of this. Like, how do we get tickets sold? How do we get the word out? How do we do this? How do we talk to businesses? How do we talk to leaders? And we would set action plans. And then I remember a couple of them. It was like, hey, who's bringing the snacks?
Right.
Like, did we say we were going to bring snacks? yeah, we did. And then like 2 hours, like, wait, who's getting the snags?
Right. Who got that action item?
Right. And so you got to set up that accountability. You got to set up the deadline, the goal of this is what we're going to do, if that makes sense.
Totally.
And so you're really kind of looking at the problem that you're facing as going, what is my learning opportunity? And not just information, not just, oh, I could be better at this, but how can I change?
I like it.
Yeah. And so
That's good.
curious, Zach, for you, how do you see this taking shape in the lives of leaders where they don't do that execute piece?
Well, it all falls apart. I mean, so we rise and fall to our systems, right? And so you can, if you've got the best system in the world, well, now you've got something to adhere to. And that's kind of the respond sector, right? Is like setting up that, here's what we're going to do, execute being the finer details of here's exactly how that's going to happen, right? And doing it, right? That's the other part. But if you have no system, if you have no framework, you're going to fall short. And so I guess I look at the COR as holding the E responsible.
Say that again. Flesh that out.
I think the call it, own it, and respond.
Okay.
Once you've set those things up, you've kind of built a skeleton. You've now got a reason why you need to do it.
Right.
You've now got an identity as the person that isn't doing it. Right? Now you've got a plan on what you need to do. And so now you got 3 things beating down your door going, when you going to do it? When you going to do it? When you going to do it? You know what I mean? So if you can make it as far as respond, you've set yourself up to probably get this done, or at least more than likely get this done, right? Because you've put yourself in a position where you're going to feel even worse if you don't know, which is good. I'm cool with like just totally guilting people into making their lives better. That's fine. Like that's good stuff. Like why not?
Why not?
On their own accord.
Right. Exactly.
Because it's like, well, I didn't put the guilt on you.
Well,
like,
so I was,
You called it out for what it was. Like, I didn't do that. You went through that process.
100%. I was looking at this and I was going, how did I do this in my life this week? And I was like, well, I feel like I'm getting pretty doughy around the midsection, you know? And then I'm like, oh yeah, nah, I definitely am doughy around the midsection. You know? And I feel like that's the call it, own it. You know, then the respond was, I signed up for Noom, a wonderful little tool, you know? And now it's like, so you going to do Noom? Right. Like, that's the thing. And so it's like, am I going to meal prep? Am I going to weigh myself every day? Am I going to eat better? Am I going to go out and make sure I get in my steps for the day?
Exactly.
And I'm exercising? That's the execute. But I've got those other things kind of holding me responsible now. So.
Yeah.
Good call.
So if you're, did you just catch right there that Zach just paired the core process with his peace index? He went to the physical health side, the bubble of his peace index, said, here's something I need to make a change of, and here's my execute, here's my respond, my action plan, and my execute. So he's pulling the core process into
the listener,
making the change.
We did, Jason and I did the peace index yesterday with our team.
Yeah.
And I came up way low on personal health, which I always do. But I'm trying to do something about it, you know? So I mean, like I had a salad yesterday instead of delicious chicken tenders like Jason did.
Yeah, I had buffalo wings.
That's awesome.
So
I felt guilty.
Yeah, don't feel guilty. Don't feel guilty. I was just trading up, right?
There you go.
That was the
way
idea.
to trade up.
And so, and that's another thing here. Executing is all about trading up.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, bottom line, a healthy leader, a great leader, is one who is self-aware, who is understanding their actions, understanding their tendencies, and making those tweaks, making those trade-ups in our actions to become just better leaders across the board. And you can use the same 4, call it, own it, respond, and execute. You can use the same 4 as an organization, as a team. I think a helpful tool, and you're just going to have to Google this because we won't jump into it, is the RACI, the RACI matrix of who is, here's where we respond. We've got our action plan. So R is who is responsible for it. A is who is accountable for it or authority for it. C is who do we need to consult and I is who do we need to inform. And so it helps you with your communication plan throughout the organization and who's in charge of each action step and that accountability and deadlines and goals. And it's a pretty cool tool. So
Cool.
RACI.
Okay.
Yeah. Go check it out.
I was gonna say we might have to come back and revisit that one. We have a little more time.
Yeah. Yeah. So Zach, thanks for letting us pull you in, man.
No problem.
Thanks for
Thanks for ambushing me.
I'm glad you had absolutely nothing going on this morning.
Right.
Yeah.
You probably had no to-dos on your, nothing to execute.
Nothing. I'm the least busy guy alive. So
Yeah.
right on. But thank you though. It was
Yeah.
fun. And
Yeah.
I always
And-
like talking into a microphone and
That's right.
rambling. So
That's right.
thank
Yeah.
you to all your listeners for putting up with me. But
That's
it's
right.
been good.
That's right. So
So today we're gonna introduce. No, we got an interview.
we have a planned interview.
Yeah, we actually do have an interview, a legit interview, with Keith Howard, who
no,
owns.
Zach was legit.
Oh yeah, sorry, you're legit.
He was
It's
just
okay.
spontaneous.
mean
I don't
legit.
have to be legit. It's all right.
You're spontaneously legit for the intro.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
All right. So who did we invite in for a scheduled
So
interview?
We did invite Keith Howard in for.
There we go.
Who's the owner of the Guys in the Ties carpet cleaning. So
Right on.
he is newer owner, and super excited to chat with him and get some insight into his world. And I don't know a lot about the carpet cleaning industry, so
Right.
I'm looking forward to chatting with him.
Absolutely. Sounds
So,
good. Let's
right.
make the jump over. All right. Well, Keith, welcome.
Yeah, Keith.
How you doing, man?
Morning. Pretty good.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks
Tell
for
us.
the invite.
Hey, man, we're glad you showed up this morning. And maybe we should even give a fair warning to our listeners that there might be a high sarcasm alert
Right.
in this episode. So
We've been horsing around even before we hit play.
yeah. So tell us, in all seriousness, tell us about your journey. Tell us about your background, how you kind of got to where you're at today.
Oh, it's a long story, but I'll make it short. I think it was 99. Actually, I was driving a semi. A friend of mine did carpet cleaning for a company here local, and he always needed help on the weekend, so I started helping him. About a year into it, he decided to move to Florida to work for Firewater, get more into restoration. So I got tired of being on the road, and it was hard to get a local job. So long story short, so then I started doing carpet cleaning, interviewed at the company that he was at,
Okay.
got the job. Next thing you know, I'm 13 years in doing it.
No way.
Yeah, it was 13, 14 years for Edward Rose of Indiana. So then they started doing a lot of changes. So I was like, because I was an in-house carpet cleaner for this company. So they own multiple apartment complexes. So I got kind of scared. I was like, I don't want to be shifted out. They did a lot of shifting before the economy started doing crazy stuff. So I got out of it for a year. Sold mattresses for a year, missed it, got back into it, been doing it ever since.
Okay.
So I've only worked for 3 companies here local and decided it's time to do it on your own.
Really?
Yep.
Huh. So, have you all So we know that you own the business. You actually own 2 businesses right now. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay.
S&K Cutting Edge, Guys in the Ties.
Okay. So tell us, during that journey, what made you decide to think that, hey, I think I need to do this on my own, without anybody else? Because it's a step going from I have a consistent income and to a business entrepreneurial role of owning the business and managing all the money and all that fun stuff.
Right. It's a scary, years ago, my mom even asked me, hey, why don't you go out on your own? You've been doing it over 10 years. Well, in this field, it's easy to say that. It's kind of cutthroat. So you got to kind of watch if you can do it. I knew I can do it, but financially, I was kind of scared to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Working for the company that I used to work for, but I'm not going to name that company, I started seeing things. I was like, I can't be involved with, the shady stuff that's going on here. So I had 2 choices: switch careers or go ahead and go out on my own. So
Yeah.
so that's what I did.
Nice.
Love it.
So let me just ask you, for that time frame, for a lot of entrepreneurs we talk to, we find that it is a hurdle. There's a hurdle there that you have to, like you were saying, it's kind of scary. It's kind of that whole pulling the trigger. What got you over that hurdle? Just because you wanted to do things different, or is it what made you decide that hurdle would be worth it?
seeing how the other business was ran and what they stood for, their ethics, basically. So if I had one choice, I had two choices: either stay and just stay there, or go out on my own. Seeing what some of the stuff that they did, I was like, I can't.
Ethically,
I,
it's just,
yeah,
it's just more
I can't go
comfortable
home.
with
You know that old saying, "Hope you sleep better at night."
Yeah.
Wasn't gonna happen.
that. Okay.
So that's when I decided, you know what, it's time to go out. Get out, do it, just do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not really that hard. The whole thing is, and you know, you got to have confidence in yourself too. And I had that confidence, but the financial part is the scary part, especially the way, you know, the way it is now. So
Right. Yeah. We've definitely went through some hiccups in this time, so it's definitely
a lot of hills to climb,
right.
up and down, back.
So I'm curious. You mentioned you saw some things going on in that company that you were like, no, I can't be a part of this. So, in establishing your own work, what are some of the values or things that you hold on to? Like, this is going to define who I am in my business and how I deal with customers. What are some of those things that just are close to your heart in that?
The main thing is do what you say you're going to do for a customer. Okay, so you get out there, you start cleaning. You know, you can take so many shortcuts in cleaning carpet.
Really?
You can, and the customer won't know it. But is it ethical? No.
No.
So I try to look at everything I do for every customer. If I was paying a guy to do this job, this is how I would want it done. Same with my lawn care. That's just me. Now, not everybody's going to do that, but that's just me.
Right.
The more customers you make happy, obviously, the more you're going to keep. Now, there is that 1 in 100 that you're not, but that it is what it is. I'll take the other 99.
Yeah.
You know, so and you know, just treating customers like they need to be treated and doing the job like it's supposed to be done.
I'm curious. Like, I mean, I don't know carpets, so, but I also know that I know you're a passionate guy about carpets, and you know your trade very well, because I've been able to see you at work too. So, like, these kind of things, like, it's interesting that you've been through where you've seen them not where you can cut corners, but you don't. Like, are those things, do you think that many carpet cleaning companies oftentimes do, or do you think it just happened to be the one company that you were working for at one time?
It's throughout the board, because when I worked for the other company, I was the operations manager, so I hired and fired guys.
Okay.
The first 5 or 6 years, well, let me start over a little bit. First 6 years, I was just a tech. The last 7 with them, I was operations manager.
Okay.
First 2 or 3, hired, and you know, everybody's always looking for experienced people. It's easier. It is.
Right.
But they come with a little bit of a downfall.
Right.
They're stuck in that way that the other company ran,
Right.
or they're stuck in their own ways. It's like a 2-year-old, once they reach 16, good luck on changing them.
Right.
So when I started doing a lot of hiring, I decided, you know, I'm going to try to hire guys with more experience. It was a nightmare.
Really?
Yes, it's a nightmare. So other companies doing it, I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
And, you know, it's hard for an owner or operations manager or just supervisor. They're not going to see everything. So it's just on the employee to do it the right way.
Right, because it's definitely one of those trades that you got to be motivated. You know, you got to be the person. The tech has to be motivated to get the job done right, because there's nobody there holding their hand, right? Because 9 times out of 10, it's like one person.
A lot of companies double up. The company I work for, you went out on your own, so you got paid a percentage of the net sales that day. So if you put 2 people on a truck, for instance, it was 30% of that, so 30 and 35, 35 after hours. You put 2 people on the truck, bring it down to 15, they're not going to make any money.
Right. That's really hard.
So that's why it was one person in, one person by themselves. But that person just needs to know, you know, what I used to tell these guys is, you cut corners, but now you got to go back for free.
Right.
Because you can't go back and charge them for something you didn't do.
Right.
And they'd moan and get upset about it. It is what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
So I always looked at it, do it right the first time. If you got to go back, at least you know you did it right.
Right.
Because we're not, none of us are perfect.
Right. There's always sometimes.
There's always that time. So
Yeah. So when you mentioned that you were driving a truck prior to all this, right? And you know, and now you've got this passion for, you know, getting the job done right in terms of carpet cleaning and stuff like that. What along the way just kind of, you know, jumped in your mind like, no, this is what I want to do? Forget truck driving. Like, why this? Why did this start?
This is gonna sound crazy, but I used to play. I wish I still did. I used to play racquetball like 3 or 4 times a week, so I was always physical. Cleaning carpets is a physical thing, so it's
There you go.
easy. It was to me. It was like, oh, I can keep in shape doing this, and I don't know. I just ended up liking it, and I think
Yeah.
the most part of it, when you're driving a truck, you're out there by yourself,
Yeah.
so you're kind of like your own boss. Well, this position here is almost the same thing. So, but the difference is instead of being in an office building, you're out in the world.
Right.
Until where we're going to go through now in the winters here. That's the worst part of it, but I think that's what kind of really drove me towards it.
Right. Okay. What's some of the craziest things you've seen?
Am I allowed to say?
It would just maybe change the names. You know?
As in cleaning?
Like whether it's going into a home or something you've seen in the business practices.
Yeah, I've seen a lot, especially occupieds. I've seen some occupieds. You knock on the doors. I hate doing occupieds, by the way, because half of them don't answer the door. But anyway,
Define that for a
Yeah,
minute.
occupied an apartment or a house that's actually lived in, not a vacant
okay,
house.
okay.
Or
So more like a tenant
a
situation.
tenant situation.
Okay.
They're either there, don't answer the door, then you open the door and they're sitting there looking at you like, you just walked in my house. I'm like, well, I've been knocking for 10 minutes, but I've went through apartments where people were there laying there naked,
Oh my goodness.
laying there drunk. I cleaned not millions, but a lot of apartments where you walk in and they're still there sleeping. I'm like, all this noise I'm making, I'm done and out the door and they're still sleeping. I'm just like,
Wow.
really? But the weirdest one, I did walk into a lady and her boyfriend. I think it was her brother, actually. They were home. Well, he was knocked out on the couch. She came to the door naked, didn't even realize it. Was like, ma'am, you know you're naked. She's like, huh? Then she woke up, was like, oh, and ran.
Oh.
That was the weirdest one I've ever had.
Oh my goodness.
It's like she was sleepwalking or just so
I
out
don't
of it,
know.
or
I think they had too much to drink the night before. So.
Oh my goodness.
Because the brother was not waking up and he was just knocked out. She said, just clean around him. I'm like, really?
Just clean around him.
He's laying on the floor. I did, and I was training a guy that day, actually.
Oh my goodness.
And he looked and said, do you normally run into this? I was like, no.
No.
I said, it's 1 in a million. And I said, and you will.
It's about today just happened to be the millionth.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
so you prefer unoccupied.
100%. You can get done faster with an occupied or a furnished house or furnished apartment, but,
Right.
And my guess is it's a little different when you're serving landlords versus an actual homeowner, right? Is that accurate?
yeah.
Okay. What would you say your percentage of business is for, that? Like, do you do a lot more customers with homes versus landlords, or is it both?
It's really both. Guys and ties is more, I would say, actually it's more residential.
Okay.
I try to stay away from the apartments as much as can, from judging from the other job that I had, because it depends on your financial. Residentials is a cash base.
Okay.
When you're done, you're paid, you're gone.
Right.
Right.
Apartments, you got to bill them, and some of them don't pay on time, so you've got to have a nest sitting behind you to kind of cover that.
Right.
Going through that now, but
Right.
it is what it is. But it's about 75-25.
Okay.
Okay. What's some of the biggest challenges you've had to overcome as you've moved into the role of ownership?
Really not any, because be truthful. Actually, there is a little bit, because with me owning now, so now I'm in charge of the books, the money, the scheduling. It's not like operations manager. The office got the scheduling. I handle the guys. I get them out, make sure they got everything they need. Now I have to do all of it.
Right.
And it's really not that bad, but the busier you get, the harder it gets.
Right.
Right.
Because you didn't start Guys and Ties from scratch.
No.
Right. Okay. So
Nope.
you took over ownership at one point. How big are the crews? Is it just you or
It is just me.
just you? Okay. Okay. Yeah. So when it gets busier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It gets busier, but I still get it done. It just takes up your weekend time,
Gotcha.
which I don't have a problem doing, but But if we grow, then maybe there'll be an office person.
Hey. Yeah.
Right.
That's the key.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. What do you think one of the keys to growing into the future might be?
more advertisement, and believe it or not, word of mouth is pretty strong. It actually is, but you got to keep in mind that's where it goes back to where I said service the customer and make sure they're happy, because word of mouth can hurt you or help you. So I'd rather it help me than hurt me. But my main goal next year is to get the residentials build up another at least 10 to 15%. There's a lot more you can do in residentials between dryer vents, air ducts, tile and grout, furniture. You know, you go in apartments, you're cleaning the carpet, boom, you're at the door. Very rarely you get, you know, they want their clubhouse cleaned or something like that, but you'll make more money in residential. So,
What do residential people need to know about carpet cleaning? Like, what's the aspect that homeowners overlook so often that you're like, man?
Yeah, because this is something that, like, I mean, I haven't researched hard on, but like it's like it seems like there's a minimal amount of companies that do this anyway. So it's like, how do you know what's good from bad, and how do you know what to look for?
I think nowadays a lot of people go by not word of mouth and Google. Google's the main thing.
Yeah.
You know, they look at reviews.
Yep.
I've never been a big review guy because reviews can be good, but they can also be bad.
Right.
I mean, the guy that put a bad review about this company might have been
He's had a
mad
bad day.
that day and was like,
Right.
I'm just going to take it out on them. And then the tech might have done a good job.
Right.
You know, you never know. But what was your question again? I got off base.
I think it was Chris. I think he added a
Sorry.
second question on.
Yeah, go ahead. Go. I threw it off.
No, like for the homeowner, what do they need to be thinking about? Like, what do they miss along the way in terms of carpet cleaning? What would make your job easier?
Vacuuming.
Vacuuming, okay.
A lot of companies, Stanley Steamer, they vacuum before they clean. There's a lot of companies that do pre-vacuum. And when you go to school and you're taught it, you do need to pre-vac before you clean carpet. I mean, it's just a given anyway. But a lot of companies will not do that because the system you use as a vac and it vacs the water, well, it's not designed, the wand's not designed to pick up a lot of trash and stuff like that anyway.
Right.
And having your stuff moved and ready. That's the big key.
Like furniture or like the
Furniture.
small stuff?
The small stuff. If you want wall-to-wall cleaning, then you got to have a system. I walk in a lot of residentials where, I want to clean everything, so we're going to move this here. I'm going to have you clean here, and then I'm going to move this over here. Well, you're putting stuff back on wet carpet.
Yeah.
Now, they say, okay, fine, the tech is responsible for tabbing it, putting tabs under the legs and stuff, but 9 times out of 10, half the time, they don't want that done. They just want to clean the whole room. I did one last week, for example. These people just moved in this home. Had stuff everywhere. They're laying a floor. The painters are there.
Oh, my goodness.
Who else was there? The cleaners, the painters, the floor guy. Somebody was doing something in the line, too. I'm like, why would you schedule carpet cleaning through all this? She said, well, we just moved in, we closed, and we're in a hurry. We're trying to go to vacation. Okay.
All right.
So you want me to clean your carpets? Should we wait? Yeah, I would.
Right.
So I think the biggest downfall, what some customers don't realize, you got to give, it's just like if you get a cut on your finger. It's got to have time to heal. Your carpet's really got to have time to dry.
Right.
And they'll ask you, how long before it's dry? I tell them 4 to 10 hours. Technically, it's not dry for 24. I don't care what anybody says. The top's dry in 4 to 10, but the bottom's not. So you start putting furniture on, it's heavy. You're pushing into the pad, the water's going to start come up the top. It needs to dry and cure as much as it can without you walking on it. And no black socks. I don't know what it is with people after they have carpet clean, they want to put socks on, put white socks on, or walk with no shoes.
Really?
Yeah. I've seen it. I was cleaning once, and especially Berber. Berber's notorious for it. You'll clean it, and one of the customers started walking across to get his checkbook with black socks on, and I seen this. I'm like, seriously? It's the first time I ever seen it, so ever since then I tell people no black socks.
So what does it do? It just
The
like
dye, I guess the
dye comes out of
was
the
coming,
socks?
and it could have been. Now it wasn't completely black, but I could see a little bit. It's
wow.
it's like a kid came
Smudges.
in from smudges outside from in the
man.
oh
mud.
my
I was
goodness.
like, but I had seen it Berber's notorious for it. I don't know what it is with Berber carpet. It's just notorious for tracking stuff up.
Wow. I didn't know that.
And even my shoes. I've walked in when we should be wearing foot covers anyway, but a lot of times I don't. And I walked in and then go back in to collect payment and step on it and look and like, seriously, Berber attracts dirt instantly. I don't know why.
Huh.
Maybe it's the way it's made, I guess.
Yeah. Huh. That's interesting.
Interesting.
Good to know.
All right.
You got Berber in your house?
I think I do.
Yep. Keep your shoes off.
Right. Fair enough. I'll wear white socks too.
No kids, no dogs, no animals.
Yeah.
Just
all the kids stay out of this room.
just put police tape across like nobody entered.
Crime scene.
Oh, that's too funny.
Oh man. So if you were to do all this over again, so you were to, kind of, I mean, if you go back to 13 years, right, to where you first got into carpet cleaning, anything you'd do differently based on the experience that you've gained today?
I probably would have started trying to own earlier a while ago because the economy now it's harder to do that, and it was a lot easier back then. So I probably would have, but I don't look at it now. I just a straight line to go forward. So
Gotcha.
So, what are some of the new services that you're thinking about adding as you grow for your business?
the main one's air duct cleaning.
Okay, tell us. And I'm not super familiar with that, so could you explain exactly what that is and what you're doing?
So your air duct cleaning involves cleaning out all the vents, cleaning the plenum, cleaning the return airs, and a lot of homes nowadays have more than one return air. They're high efficiency return airs.
Right.
All of it needs to be cleaned out,
Okay.
whether it's in the ceiling or in the floor.
And what does that look like? I mean, when you say cleaned out, what does that mean?
Actual cleaned. I mean,
So-
Brandon, there's a multiple different systems out there. The vac system ran with a brush is obviously the best because you're doing a two-stage. You're creating negative air actually instead of positive air.
Okay.
So your vac would be hooked to the plenum,
Mm-hmm.
and then your brush you would brush through. And you can do a three-stage if it's really bad. They make a system that's got a vac, and the actual brush is in the middle of it, and it hooks to the van, or they have one that comes in a little briefcase. It's got a motor. They've got all kind of different ones. But the key to it is to create a negative air, get everything pushed back to the plenum down into that machine that you have hooked to it. Because
Okay.
normally your furnace, your air conditioner, whatever is pushing out.
Right.
You need it to go backwards into this unit, so you have to do a cut-in.
Okay.
You hook to it. There's this big machine that creates a bunch of CFMs, sucks it backwards, and you're using a brush to push it.
Okay.
What you can't push, the vac hose, if you have that system, is sucking it that way too. So that's a three-stage.
Okay.
Single stage is just doing a brush. It's better than nothing, but not the best.
Okay.
And which service is it that you're leaning towards?
The two-stage.
Or that you're doing the two-stage? Okay.
two-stage.
And so this is not like, I know that there's some people out there that actually like take what is like a Menards version, like brush that you connect to a drill. This is not that
No.
because this is actual machine where you have negative air pressure.
Yes and no. They do have two different ones. As long as you have an actual, I forget the name, a bait systems, for instance. It's a machine. It's about 4 foot tall. It's just a big old blower in it. It's got a 14-inch back for commercial, and then it's got an 8-inch. You hook that to the plenum, turn it on, and it creates twice the negative air. A lot of CFM. I can't tell you exactly what's, but
Right.
15 times what your unit puts out.
Wow.
Okay.
Backwards, and you're pushing everything to it. So you can use a brush, the ones that hook to the drill,
Right.
as long as you got that negative air.
Right.
going.
So
Right,
it's
right.
it's about the bigger part of the machine that's part of that as well. So just sticking a brush down there is not going to do it.
Now you'll knock it down and put it where's it going to go?
Right. It's going to just
Right.
land somewhere different.
Okay.
And don't get me wrong, air duct cleaning is great, and there's no service out. There's not one company out there that can get everything out. There's no way.
Right.
But you can minimize and get a lot out. Now the benefits is for allergies. If you have pets, that's it's a given. If there was a smoker in this house beforehand, you can have your air ducts thermal fog for smoke. It's called tobacco attack. It attacks the nicotine that's inside there. Dust mites. So
And that's something that you do as well?
yeah, you can do all that.
Okay.
And I tell customers, if you're going to get it cleaned, then just do it. I'll get it sanitized and get the whole works.
And so I'm like I said, I was new to the whole duct cleaning thing. Is that something that you do regularly? Like you should do regularly, or do you recommend like how
They
often do you?
say once a year. A lot of people are like, oh, that's not true. You don't need to do it for every 5 years. Depends on where you live. For instance, if you just had a house built,
Yeah.
I had a lot of customers in my previous employer that would have their air ducts cleaned and the house had just been built.
Okay.
I was like, why? Well, then I got to thinking, okay, I get it. You're in a construction neighborhood, all the dust, your car, you can't even keep your car clean. So what makes you think your house is keeping clean?
Oh yeah.
And it's usually
right.
it's usually a person that has bad allergies.
Yep. That totally makes sense.
Yeah. So it doesn't hurt to do every year, especially if you have COPD, bad allergies, especially asthma. I get a lot of why are you laughing? You got bad allergies?
My nose is already itching just thinking about it. I'm like, crud. When are you coming over this afternoon?
That's too funny.
I would say probably about before is maybe 20 to 30% of the people had their air ducts clean was because they had pets and their kids had allergies or kids had asthma. Sorry. Asthma.
Okay. But that all plays into that mix.
It plays in. It helps. It's not 100 proof, but it's just like if you don't take your allergy medicine that day, you're going to feel it after it's gone out of your system in 24 hours. So
Right.
it's a preventative.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a preventative.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, as a dad with multiple kids,
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about all the instances in the past. Well, my son's 24 years, where he thought it'd be fun to take the bottle of baby powder, and
Dump it down.
it went down the floor register, and then the fan came on, and then the room was covered, right?
Oh my
Smelled
gosh.
good though, didn't it?
Oh, no, that's too much. And then then the time that I'm pretty sure it was M&Ms or Skittles went down the floor because it sounded cool, right?
Right. Oh my gosh. That's too funny.
Or I remember when the kids were young, and I don't know what movie we watched or what, but it was like the crime scene where they draw the little chalk outline. It was probably like, I think they did it in like Roger Rabbit or all these
Yes,
different
that's
cartoons,
totally what I
right?
have. Yep.
Yeah. And so we come home one day and we see a crime scene in our living room, and my son had drawn a Sharpie line around my daughter when they were just goofing around playing
Oh my
carpet?
goodness.
on the carpet. Yeah.
Oh, that's unbelievable.
So we had a carpet cleaner in. It didn't come out because it was Sharpie. So we just artfully arranged the furniture.
No way.
Yeah.
That's
You
hilarious.
you can get it out. It might say permanent, but it'll come out.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, man, you provide a great service to
Right.
parents.
Well, and it's funny you should bring up your kids because I was just thinking, I was like, man, with as many kids that go in and out of our house, like I'm sure our ducts are dirty. I'm sure.
How old's your house?
88, I think. So
You never had it done.
never. Well, I just purchased this house 5 years ago.
Okay, for customers like you that don't know if their air ducts has been cleaned, now this is if it was done properly. Go down and look at your unit and see if there's a cut in. If there's a cut in, somebody's been in there and it's been done.
Okay.
If it was done
if,
right.
And I'm asking because I don't know. Like, if my air filter is regularly pretty dirty, like, is that a good, like, should I be like, I probably ought to have these cleaned out, so maybe it.
Not really. That's not a
That's
telltale
more about
sign.
the
That's
air.
more of how you're living, how
Okay.
your daily living.
Okay.
Okay.
If you're put it this way, if you're a person that in the summertime, if it's cool enough for you outside or even warm, whichever, you have your windows open a lot,
Yeah.
you're gonna need your air ducts clean.
Okay.
Guaranteed.
Because some of that dust just rolls in naturally.
It is what it is. And even if you don't, you're gonna need them clean.
Okay.
And one telltale sign to kind of help you know if you really need it done and you're not sure, around the edges in your home, if you start to see it turning black, it's filtration. That's a clue sign right there. Okay, I need to get my air ducts clean.
Oh.
Like around your baseboard?
Yep, around your baseboard.
Starting
Okay.
to pull that air in through
Yeah.
the. Yeah, because some of the older homes, the ductwork was oftentimes in the walls. Like they didn't actually have ductwork
Yep.
for it. Like they just had it run through in between the studs.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
I see a lot of houses, the older houses like that for the return air. It's not a true return air. It's just
Right.
a wall cavity.
Right.
I hate cleaning those.
The house
by the way.
breathes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and it's just.
I didn't
Like
know
it's
that.
trying to breathe.
I was gonna say it's probably trying to pull that air in with
Yep.
that junk that's already in there. It's kind of closed off some of that space, right?
Especially a person that keeps, like, you have pets and you always you go to work, you keep your office door closed. over time, that is the first room that's going to show it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yep. I don't know
Good to
what it
know.
is because that door's shut. I guess it cuts down on the airflow.
Okay.
I've seen it a lot, and it's like, you keep this door closed. They're like, how'd you know? It's like, I can tell because that's a lot blacker than the rest of it.
Right.
It's just one of those things, if you've been doing it a while, you kind of know, know a few tricks and
Right.
Right.
what's going
Right.
on.
Wow.
But so get your air ducts clean.
Right.
Can't hurt.
There you go.
Well,
There you
thanks
go.
for joining us today, Keith.
Yeah.
How if somebody's listening and wants to reach out to you, what's the best way they can get a hold of you?
Cell phone.
Cell phone and
Or
what's
company cell phone.
Yeah, what's the number?
317-494-0086. And yes, I had to think about that.
And then do you have a website too?
Yes.
Okay. So
Yeah,
just in
we're-
case
we're on Facebook, Guys in Ties on
Guys in the
Facebook.
Ties.
So we really don't have a website, actually. I guess it's just Guys in the Ties.
Oh,
But we
okay,
will be
Facebook.
getting one.
Yeah.
We'll be building one up. So.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, we'll throw Facebook in the show notes.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
Phone number. So if you need to get a hold of Keith, the guy in the tie.
Right.
And maybe there's people like, now, he ain't got no tie on. Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're watching, yeah, he's got a tie on.
I get that every.
Yeah. Truth in advertising. If you're just listening, it may not be a literal tie. It might just be a picture.
Right. Right.
It's there.
It's there. That's right.
Thanks
That's
again
right.
for joining
Yeah,
us
thank
today,
you, man.
Keith.
Hey,
it was
thanks for
great
having
to
me.
hang out with you.
Yep. We'll catch you guys here in just a moment. All right, Chris. Well, thanks for bringing Keith on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm so
That's
glad
cool.
he was able to meet with us. I just, I do appreciate people that in their trade or in their thing that it's great to see their passion about what they do.
Yeah.
And like it almost like it ignites a fire in me because it's like they're so passionate about what they do, and that's so Keith. Like I
Right.
love the fact that he's so passionate about what he does and trying to make sure that he's serving his customers to the best degree he can.
Yeah, it's easy to get behind a guy like that when he's
Right.
passionate about it and trying to live with integrity and
Right.
that's cool.
And the ethics that run, like he's talking about, like the ethics that he runs his life by is just solid. Just, is a great. I'm super excited that he has taken on the potential, the ownership side of things because it sounds like he's been a tech. He was a tech, and then he was the manager,
Operations and
it's like, dude, that's the next step. Like, I mean, if you're gonna go all out, you might as well just go all out. So
Right.
it's neat that he's been through such a cool journey
Yeah.
to be able to get him to the point now where he's at.
Right.
Where he
Right. Yeah, I like
owns.
that he's walked the road for a number of years of learning what to do, what not to do.
Right.
And that's going to make his ownership journey hopefully smoother, right?
Smoother, right?
Because
Right.
everybody's leadership, ownership journey is like super smooth, right?
Right. Oh yeah, totally. Right. Because that's what entrepreneurship is, right? Just
That's
a
right.
smoothest
journey
sailing,
ever.
Right.
Oh man. Well, yeah, and I, as a homeowner with kids and animals, I'm like,
Right. Another thing to do for the house.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I know. It's like the whole. I mean, like carpet cleaning. That's not really been in my realm of things.
Mm-hmm.
We. Neither has duct cleaning. Like those
Right.
things. I don't know why.
Right.
I've never been.
well, and I've even got one of those little drill attachments.
Oh yeah. For the
Because
dryer.
for our dryer vent, because
Yeah.
I mean,
Every once in a while you got to clean it out.
it's a goofy run, and
Right.
when they built the house, they didn't make it very well, and
Yeah.
so it just causes problems. And so
Right.
I've actually got one of those little attachments.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I've
And
not thought about using it elsewhere.
yeah. And
I'm like,
honestly,
oh, okay.
I had one too, and I didn't use it enough, so I threw it out. So I was like, what do I need this for?
Right. You
It's
just
like-
call Keith now.
Right. So it just one
guy
of those
in the
things.
tie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of those things that you don't think about some of this stuff. So it's just, I know that when we put in new carpets, when we purchased our house, we were told, this was before I owned a general contracting business, but
Mm-hmm.
like we were told by then when the best way to keep our carpets at the best capacity was to have them cleaned every year. I know that. So that was what their standard, what we were trying to do when we first got it. But the more I learned, it's just, we probably ought to do that a little bit more because we do have a lot of people going in and out of our house with
Right.
with teenagers running around.
Yeah.
So-
Absolutely.
live and learn. It was great to talk with him, and it's
Yeah.
great to get his wisdom on the whole
very good.
situation. So,
Yep.
thanks again, Keith.
Absolutely. Hey, and you guys like, subscribe, shoot us an email.
Yeah, let us know what you think.
Go to leadingandserving.com and leave us a voicemail. You don't even have to call us. You just click the little icon.
Right?
Isn't that cool?
Do love that.
But yeah, I mean, if you guys love what we're doing here, shoot us a review. Reviews are incredibly valuable in the podcasting world, and and on the website you can donate. Just buy us a cup of coffee to help keep the Leading and Serving podcast going. So
Sounds good.
appreciate you guys. Y'all are the greatest.
Yep. Thanks for listening.
Take care.